Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Murph, and today we're going to be talking about Lord of the Rings, Heroes of Middle-earth, and some upcoming events and changes to the game regarding Elrond and the Rivendell Elves teams. Now, you'll notice the quality of this video is not necessarily up to the channel standard, considering I am currently traveling, so I'm literally screen recording this and speaking into some earphones. So my apologies for the video and audio quality of this, but I'm trying to do my best to keep some content coming out while I'm gone over the next few weeks. But let's get into this. The main thing to talk about here is that on the Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth webpage, they posted a news update earlier this week regarding Lord Elrond and the Rivendell Elves. So up until this point, Lord Elrond has been around once in a legendary campaign, or a legendary adventure, rather, that required 5 elf characters at 5 stars or higher to unlock him at 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars, respectively. And originally, we only had 4 free-to-play elf characters and 2 pay-to-play elf characters available during the first event, meaning you had to purchase either 1 or 2 of the pay-to-play elves in order to unlock Elrond, making him effectively a pay-to-play character. What is important now is that we've had the addition of 3 new elves to the free-to-play farmable table, which means that Elrond this time around is going to be a free-to-play available character, and this is important because his team is the #1 raid team across the board in the game currently, so unlocking him, regardless of pay-to-play, free-to-play, whatever situation you're in with your account, is going to be your #1 focus, or at least it should be. Now, Elrond's event starts on November 1st and will run through November 8th. And that gives you about a month and a day to farm out the remaining requirements you may have left in order to unlock Elrond. So we're here to talk about some ways that could be accomplished. Now, to talk about Elrond and his team is the Rivendell Elves and will consist completely of Elrond himself as the leader, who essentially plays as both a healer and a buffer, and also does a fair amount of AoE damage with his Wrath of Rivendell ability. In addition to this, you have his daughter Arwen, who is kind of a support character who's going to be able to both dispel your team and, or rather cleanse your team and dispel the other team, and throw up some, defense up or fortitude, whatever it's called in this game. You also have Elrond here, who is a massive single target damage dealer, who is essentially going to deal out large single target damage on attack, and in addition to that can put defense down on enemy characters to increase that amount of outgoing damage, as well as counter enemies who are currently attacking Elrond when he has taunt up, which essentially turns him into a counter-attacking machine gun. So Elrond is going to be your tank and will also do a fair bit of buffing other characters with advantage, as well as being able to apply Nimble on himself. He has a fairly high armor rating and can do a little bit of AoE damage as well with his Ancient Skill ability. And whenever you use it with 3 or more buffs on him, it essentially fully refreshes that ability so that you can use it over and over again. Now, Lomion is going to be the 5th character on the team, and is kind of a utility damage dealer where he's going to be able to put offense up and damage enemy characters. He's going to be able to use Flurry of Steel for a 5-hit attack with increased critical chance percentage. Quick Finish will also be able to apply Nimble to himself, so he will be able to avoid some attacks. And then he also has a fairly high % chance to counterattack, depending on what ability level you have Constant Vigilance at. So with that being the Rivendell Elf team, we need to now talk about how we unlock Elrond himself. So there's essentially 3 routes we can go down with farming for Elrond. There's #1, which is the efficient route, and efficient in this case, meaning that the characters you are farming for Elrond are going to be used on your roster, or at least useful on your roster. The second route is kind of going to be for speed, and the third route is going to be for kind of lower level characters who might not be able to access some of the higher requirements for the free-to-play farms. But either way, all 3 of these farms will be fully free-to-play farmable, and let's talk about the first one, going efficient. So with the efficient route, essentially what we want to do is farm out all of the free-to-play farmable characters that are on the Rivendell squad. So that means we're going to be looking at Elrond here, Elodin, Lomion, as well as Arwen. Now, in order to farm out these characters, Lomion, Elrond, and Arwen are all going to be on campaign nodes, and Elrond here is going to be on a guild campaign node. I may have misspoke there. Lomion, Elrond, and Arwen are going to be on light and shadow campaign nodes. Now, Elrond and Arwen are going to be on some of the later campaign nodes. So Elrond, for instance, is on light campaign 5.9, And Arwen is going to be later on in the Shadow campaign, in the Shadow Campaign 5.5. Now, both of those nodes themselves are fairly easy to clear. However, there are some nodes 1 or 2 levels ahead of that that are fairly difficult to clear. But if you're able to clear through those and you get to their nodes, you should fairly easily be able to 3-star them and begin your farm on those characters. Lomion is going to be available in a very early chapter at Light Campaign 2.9, so you can start farming him very early in an account. And Elrond here is going to be available in the Guild campaign at Chapter 3.1. Now, the important thing with the Guild campaign is that the Guild campaign is actually going to be the fastest way for you to farm these characters because you do not have to spend gems on node refreshes every 5 attempts. You can farm an unlimited amount of times per day. So depending on your crystal income, you may be able to dump 100, 200, 300 gems into just buying more Guild campaign energy and farming out more attempts per day, and that will also yield you a fairly decent amount of ability materials and gold as well. So with that being said, with this efficient route, that is 4 of the 5 characters that we would be farming. Who is the 5th character we would be farming? With there being 4 Rivendell elf characters and 3 non-Rivendell elf characters, that means that we do have to farm one of these 3 at the bottom here in order to unlock Elrond. Now, Legolas is available in the Arena store for 250 to 500 currency per day, meaning that you can farm out 5 or 10 shards of him per day, depending on RNG in the store and how much currency you have available at the time. You can also farm out Naramiri, also in the Guild campaign in 2.1, meaning that Naramiri is a early farm in Chapter 2 of the Guild campaign, and also Guild campaign again being the fastest way to farm. Our third option is going to be Leliel, who is another fairly early Shadow campaign farm. So you could farm her. However, that's going to move you to 4 total light Shadow campaign farms, which means you're spending a lot of energy in that one single area for the lowest shard yield possible. So if we're going the efficient route here, we will be farming our 4 Rivendell elves, and we will also be farming Naramiri. Now, in addition to it being efficient, again, Naramiri is a very, very fast farm. The reason this is efficient is because Naramiri is actually used in the Chapter 3 of the Mines of Moria raid, where you will be swapping out Elrond here to use Naramiri with the team, because in that chapter, doing damage is not important, surviving is. And Naramiri is able to cleanse debuffs from your team as well as heal your team as well. So it will give you more survivability and lasting staying power to be able to collect as many points in that chapter as possible. So with that being the efficient route, we're going Elrond here, Elladan, Lomion, Arwen, and Naramiri. Now when we talk about the speed route, what we're going to be doing here is, since we have Elladan and Lomion and Arwen all in the regular campaign chapters, the issue that really comes down to it is that the light and shadow campaigns are very slow farms. I think if you refresh once per day for a total of 10 attempts, you average about 6 shards per day. So what you're going to do with this farm is you're going to take Elladan, Lomion, or Arwen and drop one of their farms in order to farm Legolas. So you would be farming Legolas out of the arena store because he would not be competing for resources, or for farming resources rather, as these other characters would. And let's say hypothetically we decide to drop Arwen from this list. So instead of farming Arwen, we'll be farming Legolas. What we can do is we can take that 80 energy per day that we'll be farming Arwen with, and we could go ahead and refresh Elladan's node for 25 gems and put an additional 5 attempts in there. Either way, I would highly suggest, depending on where your farm is at, you do be refreshing your light or shadow campaign farms between Elladan, Lomion, or Arwen. Pick one of them, do at least 10 attempts per day. Once you get closer to that 5-star mark, then you can swap it to another character. But that is essentially going to be the fast way, because instead of us competing for energy between 3 regular energy campaign farms, we're splitting that out to Legolas. Now, the third and final way that I would recommend farming Elrond really comes down to, if you are a new account and you don't have the characters required to clear to the Elladan or Arwen campaign farming locations, I would just recommend that you farm out Elrond here and Naramiri, because they're going to be the 2 fastest farms for you, and they're both fairly early in the game. You can farm out Legolas as soon as you unlock the arena store, and then Leliel and Lomion are both very early farms. However, keep in mind, Leliel is an absolutely useless character and is really not used on any form of elf team whatsoever, unless you have some sort of scrap together elf team through Legolas. So a quick note to add as well for the Elladan and Arwen campaign, or the Elladan Arwen shards, is that if you are a newer account, or maybe you made an alt account since the first run of their marquees, If you have never completed the Eladin or Arwen Marquee adventures, you will be able to complete these adventures when they come back around. Arwen is coming on October 9th, and Eladin is coming on October 11th. If you complete these adventures, even if you have already unlocked these characters and farmed them out, if you have never received shards from their adventures, you will be able to receive all the required shards in these adventures. So it's going to be a very quick way for you to farm out a quick and easy 80 shards for them. So put that in your back pocket. Make sure you do it if you haven't yet. And that's going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys next time. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below, and hopefully I'll have more content coming soon. Thank you.